you've seen my other videos, you've heard me talk about my husband Tyler, so you finally get to meet him now and hear from him. And we're going to talk about the books that we read while we were dating, well, just our favorite ones. And that's another thing I wanted to mention, though, is I remember when I was in college and someone came to speak about marriage, and they talked about how like so many people will spend thousands of dollars and years of their life preparing for a career, but they don't dedicate that same thing to preparing for marriage, even though that's also a really significant part of our lives. And so we like expect a lot from marriage and we want it to be great and everything, but then we don't put as much effort into it sometimes. So I think it's awesome that you're watching these videos, and hopefully you'll read one of these books after watching it. I'll link both of them in the description for you, but you can go first.
The one that I had and selected was Things I Wish I'd Known Before We Got Married. It's written by Gary Chapman. Most people know Gary Chapman as the author of The 5 Love Languages. And if you haven't read that book before, you don't need to before you read this one. He goes over it briefly in there. But if you want an in-depth view of the 5 love languages after reading the books, it is recommended that you go and pick that up. The reason I liked it is, unlike some of the other books that we had, it is well written and it focuses on stories, and it's written by an author instead of written by somebody who's taking a scientific approach to it. So some of the other books we would read through partially and then not finish because it felt like it was a homework assignment. This book, it felt like it was a book that you could read. It's not a novel, but it just felt like a book that you could read that told stories just like a good sermon would, instead of just giving you a bunch of scientific studies or just stating a bunch of facts and things that you're expected to do. It does definitely have a Christian orientation to it as well, but it's not overly preachy as well. It also had, at the end of it, good questions for discussion. So if you're reading it by yourself and your spouse, your fiance, your boyfriend, girlfriend isn't reading it with you, you could just take those same questions and you could just posture them to them in a car ride or something, which is something that we did as well. Is we were both reading it together, but we'd be driving in the car and we'd just discuss some of the questions, and it just kind of fosters a dialogue. And one of the big things that I took away from it is that you won't always get your way, but kind of by reading through this, and just a good approach to marriage as a whole, is that you can find a way together that is becoming your way instead of my way versus her way.
Yeah, like our way, our new way. Like I've heard other people talk about it. I didn't hear a lot about it until we were dating or getting married, maybe because I was paying more attention to that kind of stuff. I don't know, but like people talking about finding a win-win instead of like, oh, we're having an argument, so I want to win the argument. Because if you're always winning, then you're married to a loser. I loved that quote. Yeah. Or are you going to say something? No. Okay. So the book that I chose as my favorite, which we both liked both of these. That's why we're including them. Like there were some others that I liked. In fact, one that I read before this one, and I talked about in one of my previous videos, was When Bad Things Happen to Good Marriages. Like he didn't like that one, but I needed it. It was helpful for me. But I talked about how it was kind of like, as you can imagine, kind of depressing about marriage, because it was talking about all the bad things that could happen. So I read this one after that, and it really, which we both did, so it really kind of got our spirits back up about marriage and how great it is. But it's called The Surprising Secrets of Highly Happy Marriages. And so I really like the cover of this book, but I don't really like the cover of this one. It's probably my least favorite thing about the book. But it talks about the little things that make a big difference. And it really was like had some surprising things in it, and really helped me have a good view of marriage, which I struggled with for a while. And so we actually liked this book so much that he recommended reading some of their other ones, and we like watched the video series that they did. It was really cute and helpful. So you definitely should check out these books. I don't know, was there anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching.